What is going on, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of the Nerd Crew Podcast. Now, we are so happy that you have joined us, and especially if you are joining us on the live stream for the first time ever. We are very excited about doing this podcast and doing it live stream for the first time ever, and hopefully not the last time ever. But as always, I am joined by the one and only Jason Lee. Jason, how are you doing today?
Doing pretty good.
Doing pretty good. You nervous yet about doing this at a live stream?
I am. I'm going to work on my screen presence.
Screen presence?
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm going to work on learning how to be on a video, especially live, and learning how to talk on, because just getting into doing a podcast in the first place was kind of a big leap for me.
Now we're taking another big step.
And now it's like an evolution. Yeah, it's the next step, so...
Well, I'm sure you'll sink right into it, and you'll love every second of it, because if you mess up on a live stream, there ain't no going back anymore. So I can edit the podcast version, the audio version, but the live version, well, you're kind of on your own for that one. So that's why we are really prepared.
It's all right. I never mess up.
Oh no, never. I never mess up either. So we should be good. We should work really well. Man, it's been a big week. It has been a really big week for multiple reasons. If you haven't checked out our last week's episode, we broke down the Captain Marvel trailer, and we discussed about it and our hype for that movie. I think we're more excited for it than most people are, because a lot of people weren't very excited for it, which that's their fault. If they weren't ready for it, that's their fault. But I know me and you were very excited about it. We were talking about before the stream started. But before we jump into anything this week, let me remind you where you can find this wonderful, lovely podcast, you bunch of nerds. You can find us at SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Play, and obviously YouTube.com. You can go to the Nerd Crew and you will find us. We put up the video version that we recorded last week. For Captain Marvel. This week we tried live streaming, and hopefully things will work out really well. Hopefully nothing goes wrong in the middle of it, and then that'll make editing everything a lot worse. But as always, like I said, I'm joined by Jason. Jason, we always love to open this podcast by doing what we are into each and every week. So, what would you like to talk about what you are into this week?
I should probably talk about Smash Bros. Ultimate again.
Was this 3 weeks in a row?
It might be 3.
I think it is. I think it's 3 weeks in a row.
But it's worthy because it's something that I've loved for, my entire childhood.
Yeah.
And now it's coming
full
back.
Circle. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So we finally got to play it, which, that deserves me mentioning it again.
Yes.
We finally got to play it. It came in last Friday. We got it the day it came out. And that day we unlocked 20 characters. And then the next day me and my brother unlocked 20 more characters. So we've been playing it nonstop.
Yeah.
And I've been trying out a bunch of people that I've never tried before, because I didn't play a whole lot of Smash 4. I don't know if I already said that or not.
Mm-hmm.
The one for Wii U and 3DS. So it's I'm not really familiar with Mega Man or Pac-Man or Bayonetta, people like that. So with this game, I want to get familiar with every character and all these different play styles. And that's been a whole lot of fun.
Oh yeah, well, I'm not going to spoil anything here because my sister would kill me for ruining Christmas, so I'm not going to do that.
Right.
What I'm actually into this week is plugging another podcast, which is a little bit different, a little bit weird.
Yeah.
I'm listening to our podcast first and then go over and check theirs out. But last week you heard me mention our friends over at the New World Nerds. I'm sorry. They just started a podcast called New World Nation, where their host, his name is Superman Nico, and a lot of people have called him different things. You can check out his his YouTube channel, New World Nerds. They play a lot of video games, but they break down trailers and things as well. So
I need a cool name like that.
Yes.
I need to come up with that soon.
Yeah. I thought about that, but nothing really works as well. So
we'll get back.
We may rip his off and just Superman Andy and Superman Jason. I'll figure out what he thinks about that a little bit later on. But they have started a podcast where each and every week leading into the big news of Avengers Endgame, they are going to be breaking down a Marvel movie each and every week with a different host or with a different guest. I'm sorry. And I don't know if he wants me to share this yet or not, but I'm going to go ahead and ruin it. So I'm sorry if you didn't want me to say it. But we are going to be doing Iron Man 3 with them. Yes, which a lot of people didn't like, but me and you are on record of saying that we hated it the first time we watched it, and then 5 years later we watched it again and actually really enjoyed it. So we're very excited about doing that. We're going to actually at some point hopefully have him on the podcast with us as well. That'll be a lot of fun jumping into that with him as well. He's a big nerd like we are, which is us nerds have to stick together. So that's what we got to do now. Obviously, we are going to jump into Avengers Endgame, the trailer, but we're going to save that to the end. We want to make everybody wait, just like the Russo brothers and Marvel did. There's been a lot of other news come out here recently, especially this week and today. Really, it seemed like. And we're going to go ahead and start with the thing that I know you want to talk about the most. Actually, the second thing you want to talk about the most. I know what the first thing is. And that is that Venom 2 is now in development.
Yes. I have waited years for Venom 2.
Yes.
Venom 2. The most anticipated comic book movie of all time. Venom 2.
Of all time, yes.
I didn't see the first Venom. For those who haven't seen previous episodes, Andy saw it,
yes.
Which I'm very glad that he did, and all props. I refuse to watch Venom, and I, by proxy, refuse to watch Venom 2. Mainly because it's just like a cash grab franchise by Sony because they still own Spider-Man.
Yes.
And they want to create an entire universe of Marvel characters, which will just be like the bargain bin B version of the MCU. And I honestly, it drives me away even more than the DC films. Because with the DC films, it's just Warner Brothers just throwing stuff out there, and it's probably going to be bad, but you go and watch it anyway because you feel bad for them. That's where I'm coming from with that. With Sony, it's like they know exactly what they're doing. And it's like Venom is a character that you could get away with creating a movie, and trying to create your own comic book movie culture around that character. And around that franchise, apparently, Venom deserves a franchise. So it's like, it's the inverse of Fox, where Fox is saying, all right, we already tried with the X-Men, and then X-Men Apocalypse came out, and now everybody hates it. And Logan was great, and Deadpool 2, those are both great.
Yeah.
But like our main X-Men franchise, we're going to hand everything over to Marvel. So it's like the inverse of that. We're trading Fox's decent X-Men for Sony's terrible Venomverse.
Yes, and it's when we did the Venom episode, basically my thought was that it was bad, but it wasn't as bad as people made it out to be. Like, it was still sort of enjoyable, as much as a Sony Venom movie could have been.
Yeah,
but I don't want to sound like I'm defending it because I don't want a Venom 2 as well. But I don't know. I'll probably go watch it because.
Yeah, you go watch it and we can talk about it.
Yes, I'll talk about how bad it was, how bad it really was. The next thing we'll jump into, and I'll put the picture of the poster on here, and that is the movie that Jason is most looking forward to by far.
The other one.
Yes. Sonic the Hedgehog is getting its own movie.
I can't wait.
Which, in its own outright, is not the smartest decision and not the best decision. But
yeah, there it is.
Man, it's. I'll let you go ahead and do your little rant on it if you want to.
Yeah. So Sonic the Hedgehog movie, I looked it up before we started recording, is being created by Paramount Animation, the acclaimed studios, which we have to thank for Sherlock Gnomes,
Terrible.
which came out earlier this year.
Terrible movie.
I didn't see it. I just heard about it.
Don't watch it. Don't worry about
that's
it.
probably their biggest movie, other than the 3D animated SpongeBob
Yeah, I think that movie was pretty big.
from a few years ago. But, you know, in concept, when I think how you would create a successful Sonic the Hedgehog movie, the Sonic fandom is so incredibly toxic.
Yeah.
Sonic already has a 3D animated, you already know how he looks in 3D animation because of the recent games.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just take that design and put that into a movie with like some people around, and it'll probably be bad, but at least it won't be as bad as this.
Yeah,
you can already see where they're going with this.
He looks just like a big furry. Like,
right.
That's all he looks like, and it's not the best. I mean, if that's what they're going for, then we've been surprised by more. And, things that we thought were going to be terrible, we've been surprised by. But
yeah,
most of the time, if it looks bad, it's not going to be that great. And so, when is this? It comes out in next year? Is it 2019 or early 2020?
I feel like it's 2019.
Yeah.
I think that I'm not going to look at it.
It'll probably be like December
yeah.
of next year. Which, if this is going to compete with the Amazing Spider-Man, or not the Amazing Spider-Man, the Spider-Man into the Spider-Verse this December, it doesn't have a chance. Right. It does not have a chance. So, I don't know why they had decided to make this film. Which you also said that Clifford the Big Red Dog is in the works as well. Which
yeah, can't wait.
Great. That's what we really need in this world is a Clifford the Big Red Dog movie.
All that we need is for some studio to come along and take some beloved IP
yes.
from the past and reboot it and make it terrible.
Yes.
That's something that I've always wanted for everything, that I've ever enjoyed.
Well, we're getting it with DC. Why not get it with the cartoons we
right. Right. Can't wait for...
We need a Doug live action.
Yeah. Magic School Bus.
Yes.
Live action.
Rocko's Modern Life.
Yeah.
The Rugrats. I'm surprised they haven't done the Rugrats yet.
Yeah.
But with that being said, Disney can keep shoveling out their live action movies because I am very excited for The Lion King.
I hope
Hey Arnold, that's a good one.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they need to do as a next movie is Hey Arnold. Because
Bear in the Big Blue House.
Oh yeah, that'd be good.
Mm-hmm.
Roly Poly Oly, you remember that?
That would be
from Disney. Yeah,
just amazing.
Oh yeah, there's money. Right? We need to go into our own animation studio, and if you guys want to support and send us money for that.
With the Sonic movie, the biggest comparison in recent memory is the trailer that just came out for the Detective Pikachu movie.
Mm-hmm.
Because that movie also had somewhat realistic designs, but I think it worked. I think it looked good. I know a lot of people thought Jigglypuff looked weird and thought that Pikachu himself looked weird, but I liked it. And I liked how it looked like they were integrating Pokemon into like a realistic setting, into a real world.
Just because the trailer's released, I mean the CGI work is done yet. So they could really fix a lot of things, and I thought it looked very exciting. Like that movie looks really good to me. I'm very excited to see that. Look forward to our next year, our Sonic the Hedgehog breakdown, because that'll be a lot of fun. In others, Marvel news. A couple of big things. One, the Far From Home trailer dropped in Brazil Saturday.
I think so.
Yeah.
At CCXP.
Just for them, but we didn't get it yet. More than likely it'll drop before Thursday. Probably drop tomorrow. Before the Spider-Man and the Spider-Verse movie comes out. I'm sure they'll want to play that before that. So I'm sure that will come out soon. So I'm sure next week will be a big Spider-Man heavy episode.
Yeah.
For sure. As well as Scott Derrickson is now directing Doctor Strange 2. He directed Doctor Strange. So that is going to be coming out probably in 2021. Mm-hmm. I saw where they have 3 slots for Marvel movies in 2021. I think it's March, May, and December. Something like that.
I think so. Which it's
yeah.
odd to hear December.
Yeah.
If it is December, it would be very strange because they don't regularly release movies around that time.
Yeah, I think the only one they did was
movie year.
Iron Man 3. I think that was the only Christmas release.
Yeah, I don't think they've done it after where they've started making 3 movies a year.
Yeah.
Because usually they've got like around March, around April or May, and then one in the summer.
Yeah.
In July.
So, you kind of enjoyed the first one?
Yeah. The first Doctor Strange.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, I did. I thought it was one of Marvel's better origin stories. I didn't think it was on the level of like Iron Man or Spider-Man: Homecoming,
Mm-hmm.
but I think other than that one, it was probably their best origin story.
It's probably one of, if not the most beautifully done movies.
Yeah,
because the CGI in that movie is amazing.
And that's part of the reason I'm excited for Scott Derrickson coming back is because he was a big part of why that movie looked so good.
Yeah. So that will be very exciting as well. I'm sure we'll get more details in the coming years for that movie.
It's also interesting because for 2020, so far, the only Marvel movies that are lined up to come out that year are Black Widow and Eternals. So this will be the first year in a while that we will only have 2 movies coming out that year.
Yeah.
So there's a chance they could move Doctor Strange up to
2020
or back, to 2020, which I hope happens. That would be really neat.
Yeah,
I think that would room.
I think that would work really well. And then finally, before we jump into our Avengers talk, Aquaman reviews have finally come out, and they have actually been surprisingly positive. I mean, it's not like, I think it's a 78 right now on Rotten Tomatoes.
75.
Something like that, yeah. And most of the ones I've read basically say it's beautifully done, but it's so out there that it's like a car crash. Like, it's not that great, but you can't look away from it.
People are saying it is completely bonkers. Like, it's completely insane. It's a completely insane movie. And they're saying that that's kind of refreshing, but it's still got kind of like some of the trappings of a DC movie. And I think we all know what those are. Every DC movie suffers from it. I'm interested to go see Aquaman, and I'm hoping that I will think it's a step in the right direction for them. I'm hoping to think it's better than Wonder Woman, because I was not very positive about Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping I can at the very least be positive, about Aquaman.
Right. But these reviews weren't as surprisingly as Bumblebee. Bumblebee's at a 97 right now, which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
I think the only bad reviews I told you was people who love the Michael Bay movies.
Right.
Which, if they don't like this movie, then they can go away. That's fine.
All 11 Michael Bay Transformers fans in the world.
They were. The first one was okay, but it went downhill quick. And then the last night was, I basically fell asleep in the theaters watching it, which I hardly ever do. So I didn't even do that for Batman vs Superman, which is, not the best movie ever. So, all right, well, I think we're ready to finally jump into things.
Yeah.
This is a year in the making. I think this was our second most anticipated episode to do. I think obviously our first is when the movie finally comes out and we get to talk about it. That'll be like a 2.5 hour episode for sure.
Yeah,
be ready for that.
As long as the movie episode will be
probably a little bit longer. A little bit longer, depending on what takes place, what happens. So obviously, what we're talking about is Avengers Endgame. The trailer dropped this past Friday. Originally, it was supposed to come out last Wednesday, but due to President George H.W. Bush's death and his funeral that day, they pushed it back, which people got mad about, but it was a National Day morning, and that would have looked bad on Marvel to release it on Wednesday. So, plus, I think Friday's a better release date anyway. End of the weekend, a lot of people aren't going to be working on Fridays. They're going to be able to watch it more, whatever. So, I was actually awake at 6 o'clock that morning.
Wow.
Because I thought it was supposed to drop at... No, I'm sorry. I was up at 7. So I thought it was supposed to drop at 8. And now the alert that woke me up was the Russo brothers tweeting it out.
Yeah.
So like I woke up, looked at it, was confused, and then realized what it was. And I was like, oh, quickly opened it and watched it several times.
Yeah, I was at work at 5 that morning.
Yeah.
So I got to.
And I kept messaging you about it, and you're like, I haven't watched it yet. Don't tell me anything. So
yeah.
So first off, before we jump into the actual trailer itself, what did you think of? Because we've both given our thoughts on Avengers Endgame as the title, and I think we were okay with it, but it wasn't like our top choice. After seeing the trailer now and then seeing the poster for it, are you more on board with Avengers Endgame, or did you want it to be something else?
For a long time, the speculation was that it was going to be Avengers Annihilation, which comparably I like Endgame a lot better than Annihilation.
Yeah.
I think thematically Endgame fits very well. It's not like Infinity War, where it's like a great, like perfect title. It might grow on me after the movie's release. I don't think it's like great, but I do think it definitely serves its purpose, and I hope to like it a little bit better.
Yeah, well, I think it's the one that makes the most sense.
Yes.
Out of any of them, because one, Doctor Strange said it at the end of Infinity War, and then obviously Tony mentioned it in Age of Ultron, pointing up there saying that's the end game, which makes total sense.
Right.
So I was completely fine with it. A lot better than Annihilation. I think they changed it 3 times. I think that's what the report was.
Yeah,
it went from Infinity Gauntlet to... Well, I think it went from Endgame to Infinity Gauntlet to Annihilation and then back to Endgame. Something like that, so...
They changed it from Annihilation to Endgame about 2 weeks before the trailer release. Yeah. Which I'm very happy about. I think we not really dodged a bullet, but that's the best phrase I can think of.
Yeah. So I think we're both on board with that being the title. It could be a lot worse.
Yeah.
A lot worse, like Annihilation, so.
Avengers Chipwrecked.
Yes, Avengers Chipwrecked. And Alvin and the Chipmunk come in and save the day, and we go home. That'd be nice.
Yeah.
Alright, so let's go ahead and jump into the trailer. The first shot we get is a close-up of Iron Man's helmet just absolutely wrecked. Which obviously is due to the battle him and Thanos had on Titan. And then it goes away. We see Tony reach out his arm and turn on the helmet to record a message to Pepper Potts. And obviously Tony is stranded on the Benetard, which we'll get into questions I have about that. Not about not about him being on the ship, but other things. We'll get to that here in a minute. And I think the thing that, because it was the caption when they sent out the trailer, was part of the journey is the end. Which is, I feel like, is foreshadowing a lot.
Yeah.
For his character, at least. He talks about how food and water ran out 4 days ago and oxygen runs out tomorrow. And then he tells her when he drifts off, he'll dream about her. Here's my question. Why is the Benetard just drifting?
Well, I would say probably because they ran out of fuel. Could be just as simple as that.
It could be.
Or it could be that they were attacked in some capacity. I don't know how they would defend themselves if they were attacked is the only problem. Maybe Nebula knows how to fly and operate the Western weapon systems and everything. You know, that's a possibility that they were attacked, but I think it might just be as simple as not enough fuel.
Yeah. Well,
it's also funny because I know I sent you this meme, but it was kind of
yeah, I saw that.
If you remember in Infinity War, when Thor first meets the Guardians, he takes their food
and their pod.
He's like, "This is your food, not anymore." And then he's like, "I'm taking your pod."
Yeah.
And if Tony Stark would have had both of those things, then I feel like
they'd have been back on Earth.
He wouldn't be in the situation he is in now.
Yes.
Yeah. So that kind of sucks.
But what I really loved about how this trailer opened is automatically you get, like, you remember the end of Infinity War. And it's like you get a shot, especially later on in the trailer, but like you look at Tony, who probably the second most broken character in the MCU. I think Thor is pretty much the broken one because he's literally lost everything. So I think that Iron Man is probably the second most broken character in the MCU, and on this first shot, you really see that. because he looks very distant and depressed, and like all hope is lost. He has this demeanor about him as well. So
Yeah.
Do you want? Because I heard this brought up as well, and so I wanted to get your take on it. Do you think that they should even have this other hoop that the Avengers have to jump through? Like, how does Tony get back to Earth? Do you think that he should just automatically be back to Earth, or are you fine with him having to struggle to get back to Earth?
I love it. I love it. I love that between these two movies, the Avengers are going to get everything possible thrown at them.
Yeah.
And I love the fact, somebody said, I think it's the Russo brothers who said that the stakes are going to be even higher. Like, totally higher than they were in Infinity War, which was a story about, Thanos collecting all stones that make up the essence of reality.
Yeah.
And then wiping out half the population. And the stakes are going to be higher, much higher than that.
Yeah.
I think that part of what makes storytelling so interesting is watching people suffer. And suffering that with them, and then when they succeed, then it means so much more.
Yeah.
Seeing them come out on top from that. I also think that it gives a sense of weight to the snap that some people didn't feel. Because I know there are a lot of people that say, oh, well, it doesn't matter, everyone's coming back anyway.
Right.
But that's not the part about the snap that matters. The part that matters is what happens with the people that are left behind, what they're going through. You look at it through Tony's perspective and all the rest of the Avengers' perspective. They've lost so much, and you had to watch them lose all these different things.
Yeah.
And then now there's, a new element of stakes as a direct result of the snap that Tony is stranded up in space.
Right.
So I just like that because so many Marvel movies end with just okay, well, the hero defeated that threat, and maybe they lost something along the way, but, they still overcame it.
Yeah.
Which I know that's how this movie is going to end, but I like that there's a new element, to the predicament that they're in.
Right. I think, I just kind of thought about this while we were, part of the reason why Iron Man may not want to come back to Earth is maybe because of his guilt. He feels responsible for Thanos. Obviously, he was responsible for Age of Ultron. All the way back in Iron Man 1, he was basically an arms dealer. So I think that he feels a sense of regret and guilt where he's like, we lost. I don't need to go back. I'll just die up in space.
Right.
Which I think could, play a part into this. And then however he gets rescued, which we'll get into later. However he gets to Earth, he may not totally be on board, or that'll just be another element to his character arc.
It feels like Pepper is the only thing tethering him back to Earth.
Yeah. Yeah, at this
point, he's just abandoned all sense of hope.
Yeah.
Which makes sense.
Right.
I think that anyone would.
Yeah. All right, so the next thing we get is the Marvel Studios logo fades to dust, which I thought was a great reminder of what happened at the end of Infinity War. And then after that, we get a close-up shot of Thanos' armor hanging like a scarecrow, just like in the Infinity Gauntlet comic.
Iconic.
Yes, iconic. Actually, at the end of Infinity War, if you look to the bottom right, I think when it's on his back, you can see it there, which is cool that they brought that back from Avengers Infinity War. That's pretty cool that they brought that back as part of it as well. And then we get Thanos is still wearing the glove, and at this point, it looks like it's basically charred through his arm.
Right.
It looks like it's not coming off.
It looked that way after he came back from his vision.
Yeah.
With Gamora, it looked that way when he used it to escape from Thor.
Yeah.
As well.
So, and we didn't see if any of the stones were still attached to it or what. We just see that it was charred to him. Also, if you look close enough, he's wearing some sort of white shirt over it, which is interesting. We've never seen that before.
Farmer Thanos.
Yeah, Farmer Thanos out at work. And then this is when we start to hear dialogue other than Tony. Black Widow tells us, or says that Thanos did exactly what he said. And then right after that, we get this shot of Avengers HQ, which is, if you look at it, which I'll throw it up here real quick. If you look at it, it looks like it hasn't been taken care of in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Grass is really high. Even the building, the little red building, looks like it's got dust all over it, which could be people, which would be interesting. Maybe my theory is that Tony Stark's groundskeeper got snapped away, and nobody else picked up the mantra of doing it. So.
Something else interesting about Natasha's dialogue. First of all, I'm very ready for her to have a bigger role in this movie than in Infinity War. I'm super excited for that. Also, what I'm thinking is that is, and I'm sure everybody's already seen the trailer, her talking to Scott Lang. You know, after they let Scott Lang inside, because I can't think of really anybody else that she would be talking to that wouldn't know what happened.
Right.
You know, I think that she's filling him in on everything that happened after they let him in.
Yeah.
You know, to the headquarters. I think that almost everything that we see in this trailer is going to happen within like the first 10 or 15 minutes of the movie.
Yeah,
and I love that it showed us almost nothing.
I really think like we just got half, not even half, like a fourth of the first act of this movie, which I love. I think that's awesome. Maybe Ronan, which we'll get to, isn't in the first act. Maybe it's kind of a little bit later on. We'll get to that here in a little bit. The next shot we get is really just all of the Avengers broken. You get Cap crying. You look at Banner, which I'll throw another picture up there in a second because I want to talk about something. But you get Cap crying. You get Banner looking at those photos. You get Thor, who looks distraught as all get out. And then during this time, you hear Black Widow saying Thanos wiped out 50% of all creatures, which means it's not just humans, but it was humans, animals, and plants, and then bacteria, I believe, is part of that as well. Maybe. I haven't had science in a long time. Don't quote me on that. But really, basically, 50% of all living things is gone now. And then this is when we see, after she says this is when we see the picture of Bruce Banner looking at the photos of people who are either missing or snapped away. Obviously, Scott Lang is there in the middle, and it says missing beside him, as well as if you look to the right, but just before it changes to Peter, there is Shuri, who apparently was snapped away, which we didn't see in Avengers Infinity War, which is kind of debunks a few things that were going through my mind, because I kind of thought she would be the Black Panther at first in this movie and then kind of help them, but it looks like that's not the case at this point.
Well, either that or she's just missing. Because for all that they know, Scott Lang is missing.
Yeah.
And Peter Parker is missing.
Right.
They don't know where.
But the only reason why I think she snapped away is because Bruce was in Wakanda. And I'm sure they went back through the building, and, if she's dusted, she's going to be,
Fair enough.
So that could be part of it, but she could be missing as well. She may have gone underground, or something like that.
Could just be a misdirect, too.
Yeah.
We have to take all of these as possible misdirects.
Yes, which is very true. It might just be a picture of Scarlet Witch. they changed it to Shuri.
Yeah.
You never know. Let's see here. Then we get the shot of the Avengers HQ inside of it, which is very empty, which is very interesting to me. And then, like I said, it cuts to Thor, he's in like Earth attire, so he's in like he's wearing a sweatshirt and like sweatpants or whatever, and he looks very distraught and sad. And then we get a shot of Cap saying, "We lost, all of us." We hear Cap saying that, and then the next thing we get a shot of Nebula on the Benetard as well. She is looking down. I think she's basically looking at Tony, and then she touches Tony's arm, and that's kind of just showing that she's on Benetard with him. And then while this is all happening, Cap says, "We lost friends, we lost family, we lost a part of ourselves," which is very interesting because when he says we lost friends, and then it switches to Ronan, and then it says we lost family.
Right.
And then it switches again, and it says we lost a part of ourselves as well, which is very interesting, very foreshadowing what happened to Hawkeye in this movie.
Yes.
At the end of Infinity War. What did you think of his Ronin attire?
It looks sick, and I can't wait to see it with the mask as well.
Yeah.
I do hope we get the mask.
Yeah. Well, I think we do because in part of the trailer he takes the hood off and then pulls the mask off.
Okay.
And then he's got the bracelets and the hood and the swords and everything else.
I love the sword.
Yeah.
Looks
awesome. He looks really cool. And I'm assuming in this shot he just killed part of the Yakuza, if I'm guessing.
Who may or may not be human.
Right. They may be what I always like to call squirrels.
Yeah.
Squirrels. I can't say it now. I just messed myself up. Scrolls. There we go. And then we get a shot of Natasha, who the scene before had short blonde hair, and then this scene it looks like she has blonde hair pulled back, which makes me think that she's probably actually has red hair instead of the blonde hair. And then that's when we get the shot of Clint Barton as Ronin taking off the mask and everything. And he is no longer Hawkeye. He has turned bad. Not bad, but he's killing everybody.
Yeah.
And then we get a shot of Cap and Black Widow. I blanked on her name. Black Widow talking about their big plan. And we get the shot of Cap looking at Peggy in his compass, and we kind of hear their dialogue back and forth. Which I really think that this is going to be Chris Evans' best performance. Just from what we've seen in the trailer, based off of what we know about him, I think he's really going to go. I really think Robert Downey Jr. and him are going to go all out for this movie. So I expect them to do really well. And he delivered the most heart-wrenching line, I think, of any trailer we've seen ever. Where he said, well, Natasha says, "This will work, Steve," and he says, "I know, because I don't know what I'm going to do if it doesn't." And it was when he delivered it, it was like I got chills when he delivered it because this is huge.
It's really interesting because Captain America is always like kind of the heart and the compass,
right? And he's always positive and right, yeah,
yes. So it's really interesting to see him kind of broken, in a sense, which it makes sense that he would be. He's still just a man, and obviously these are like, this is a scale that can't even no one can cope with.
Right.
It's just like complete insanity. So it just kind of adds to the sense of distress, which I think that we need going into this movie.
Yeah.
The sense of desperation, just to see him so shaken.
Yeah.
It's very strange.
Basically, all the Avengers are looking like they have no hope. All hope is lost. And I think that's kind of a big theme for this trailer, is there's no hope. They have one plan, and if it doesn't work, then, it's over. They've lost everything.
And even Natasha is more hopeful than Steve,
which is
kind of a reversal.
Yeah. And then we get the Avengers Endgame reveal, which was really cool because it looked like dust coming back together, but it was still broken and made the A, which was really cool. They always do extremely well with the title reveals and the poster reveals, those type of things. They do a really good job doing that as well. And then we get probably the most interesting part of the entire trailer, when Scott Lang shows up at Avengers HQ, and he's going on because he's definitely going to be the humor relief in this movie. But I do kind of hope we get a part where maybe when you said. Natasha's talking to him, if she's talking to him, telling him what Thanos did, and then we get a moment where he breaks, where he's distraught because maybe he lost Cassie, maybe he lost,
Right.
I mean, obviously he lost Hope and Hank and Janet. Yeah, I don't know why I was blanking on their names. But they lost all of them. He lost all of them, so I hope he breaks down at some point. But during the trailer, he was definitely the humor relief during it all.
Well, there's also a girl who's been cast to play a 15-year-old version of Cassie. So, if we go with the theory that this movie picks up about 5 years after Infinity War ends, you know, or at least a considerable amount of time, then maybe Cassie has just been aged up. Maybe she did survive the snap.
Yeah.
You know, and she's just living in this world, and then when Scott comes, he's kind of got an anchor where
everybody else
pretty
doesn't.
much everybody else does.
Yeah, everybody else lost. Literally everybody in their life.
Right.
So obviously this shows that if you haven't seen Ant-Man and the Wasp, you don't know why this is so important. But obviously he shows up, so he's out of the quantum realm, but they don't show us how. And this kind of proves that there will be a time jump in this movie. Which we'll get into here in a minute because I want to get your thoughts and I have some theories as well. So like I said, Scott Lang appears outside of HQ, telling him to let him in. He says, "You know me. You may not remember me, but you remember Ant-Man. I turned giant," and he was like, being relief.
We fought at an airport in Germany.
Yeah. And then Cap says, "Is this an old message?" And Natasha says, "It's the front door." And then it goes away from there, which is really cool. So here's what I want to ask you about this specifically. Well, there's a couple things. One, he drove the van from San Francisco to New York.
Yeah.
And it has the quantum... What's it called?
The quantum tunnel, I think?
I think, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously, the Russo brothers have said that the quantum realm is going to play a huge role in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
So him driving from San Francisco to New York probably shows two things. One, that's important, and two, probably there's no air travel. Like, there's no airplanes going right now because for years, probably after the snap, because everybody's got to pick back up from where, from losing half of everything in the world.
And you got to think how many airplanes
crashed. And we saw the helicopter crash in the end credit scene.
Right.
So that's part of the reason why I think it's cool that he drove. Here's the next big thing, though, is that Cap says, "Is this an old message?" And if you look, and I'll throw it up there, I have the picture, which I don't think you can see it very well in this. Top left-hand corner, whenever it pops up, it says archive on the top left-hand corner. Now, what could that mean? I know this could be another Russo brother Marvel troll situation.
Right.
But what could this entail if Natasha says this is the front door, but in the top left-hand corner it says archive?
I don't know. I don't know. I feel like that could be totally something that they threw on the screen to make people
freak out like we are right now.
Confused.
Yeah.
Right.
It also says, because it's kind of a stretch, but if you look, it says 1983, or people say it looks like it says 1983, which I don't really think is there. I think that's more of a stretch.
Yeah.
But I do think that this proves that there is a time jump. Otherwise, why would Cap say, "Is this an old message?"
Right.
So this is what I'm thinking, and I want to kind of get your take on it as well. I think we start off a couple days, or not a couple days, like a couple months after Infinity War, with Tony drifting off through space, whatever. And then I think we get into a time jump where you still have, and maybe like during that time, during that few months after you get the shot of Cap broken, you get the shot of Banner looking at things, at the people missing and snapped away. You get the shot of Thor depressed. You get all these different shots. I'm sure you'll see Rocket and M'Baku and not Shuri. What's the other one's name?
Okoye.
Yeah. You'll see her and probably Rhodey, War Machine as well, look depressed as well. So I think we'll get that at the beginning, and then we'll get the time jump of like 5 years into the future or whatever. And then that's when the movie takes place, and then time travel back, the whole thing. I think that's where we are heading most likely. Do you have any?
That sounds right. Yeah, and it's difficult to talk about this also because the trailer shows us so little.
Yeah.
And I'm very happy for that. I'm very happy that I know almost nothing going into the movie.
Right, yeah.
And I like being able to put like a visual to certain things about it, especially with Tony being up in space. It's a very visually interesting scene.
Mm-hmm.
And I like how that harkens back to the first Iron Man, kind of him being trapped just with his technology.
Yeah.
And there's like almost the same shot where in the first Iron Man there's one with him looking at his first helmet that he created for his first suit.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's also him sitting down stranded in space looking at, his new helmet which just got destroyed.
Right. Yeah. So I like you said, I love that they didn't show us anything. All they did was just make us remember what happened in Infinity War, and then make us very excited for what's going to happen into the future. So obviously they've got some big plan that we get a hint, not a hint at, but obviously we know from the trailer that there's some plan. Because if it doesn't work, Cap doesn't know what he's going to do. What do you think that could be?
What I think, the first thing that I think, because I think that all these things are going to happen right at the beginning of the movie. So this could be a plan that they come together with after Scott Lang arrives that involves the quantum tunnel that he has in his trunk. It could be something that Cap comes out with without Tony. Or comes up with without Tony. The rest of the Avengers come up with while Tony's still stuck in space. Maybe it could be something where they try something and fail.
Mm-hmm.
And then they have to all come together and then they have a different plan or something like that.
Yeah.
But I don't see that being the main plot of the movie is whatever Cap and Natasha are trying right there in that scene. I think that's kind of like a knee-jerk, okay, we've got this new opportunity, let's try something out.
Mm-hmm. I think that's probably going to be the case. The only reason I think something that's really cool is that as they're talking about the big plan, you get the shot of Peggy, which would be cool because a lot of what I've heard is that they go back in time and Cap stays in the 40s. And he can not necessarily die, but if they need him to come back, they can bring him back, whatever. So I don't know what the point of that would really be, or how that would work, but I think something like that could take place during this film as well. Here's my next question to you. How does Tony and Nebula get to Earth?
Again, with the misdirection, the first thing that I think of is Captain Marvel. That's the first thing that I think of. I think that would make sense, and I think that could totally happen. But then again, it could be a mislead. Some people are saying that since we've seen pictures of Gwyneth Paltrow in Iron Man armor, and Tony says the word rescue, because we all know how Marvel fans are about, they said this word, that means it's going to happen. That's the name of Pepper's character in the comics when she has an Iron Man suit, is Rescue. So she's going to fly into space and rescue Tony. I don't think that's going to happen. That could be an intentional misdirect by the Russo brothers.
Yeah.
I don't think it is. I think it's just Tony saying what he's going to say, and then those pictures of Gwyneth Paltrow got leaked out, or she leaked them because she put them on Instagram, which was pretty funny. I don't think that that's going to happen. What I think is going to happen is Carol is going to come back, meet Tony. It'll be awesome. It'll be one of those great reveals like Captain America and Infinity War.
Yeah.
And then that's how he's going to get back. But then again, who knows?
One other thing I thought of is the Asgardians are still out there. And their course direction was for Earth.
Right.
Maybe they, Valkyrie and Korg and all them bump into Tony out in space, and
that would be cool.
Then they all head to Earth, and then now you've got the Asgardians, Tony, Nebula, all of them ready to fight. I think that would be...
Because we don't know where Carol is at the end of her movie.
Right. She could snap away. I kind of hope she snaps away. Yeah, that would be huge if she snapped away. But I do think she's going to play a huge role in this movie.
I hope so.
Without a doubt.
I'd love to see Valkyrie come back because she was one of my favorite
I think she's supposed
characters.
I think she's supposed to be in this movie.
Yeah, she will be, but I'd love to see her come back with, plot relevance.
Yeah. Okay, so I want to get your take on this. How does Scott Lang get out of the quantum realm?
I think it might be something simple. I don't think that that's going to be a major plot element.
I just hope he doesn't show up out of nowhere and like I'm out of the quantum realm now.
I highly doubt they do
I really
that.
hope they don't.
Yeah.
I really hope they don't do that.
I think it could be just as simple as he gets sucked into a time vortex and then,
Well,
he's back.
that's part of the reason why people think it says 1983, and it could be a message from 1983, because he gets stuck in the time vortex and it takes him back to that time, and he's leaving this message, which kind of makes sense, but I don't think they had that. Well, it's a superhero movie; they can have any technology in any era.
That's true. That would be back when it was a Stark Industries warehouse.
Yeah.
Because in the first Ant-Man, that's what
Scott breaks into.
Right, that's what Hank thought it was, and then it's like, oh, it's the Avengers facility. Yeah. Which I don't know how they got that confused by that, but it's whatever. It doesn't really matter. I think that's a possibility, that it's some old archived footage, but then again, we haven't, from all the like different time periods that we've seen in behind the scenes things, we've seen people cast as 1970s lab workers.
Yeah.
We've seen sets from the 40s, from like Captain America era.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen things from 2012 era. And it's like 1983 or the 80s have never really come up in conversation for an era that's going to be visited or explored in this movie. Maybe it is, I have no idea. But I don't know. I think that people are reading, a little bit too much in strange ways into what they're seeing.
Yeah. But I think, because I think, if I may be mistaken with this, but Captain Marvel can go into the quantum realm?
That was something that me and you hypothesized and that a few other people hypothesized, because in the comics, Marvel, who's the original Captain Marvel, has quantum bands that allow him to travel through another dimension to get through space faster. So it's like, that would make a lot of sense if in the movie, by the end of the movie, she acquires kind of the same thing, those quantum bands, for traveling through the quantum realm. That would make a whole lot of sense. And initially, a few months ago, I was thinking maybe she would be the one to get Scott Lang
but how would she know
quantum realm.
But my only thing is, how would she know he's there?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So
yeah, I'm leaning a lot less on that one at this point.
Unless he got stuck in the time vortex and during one of her travels bumped into him or whatever. But that would still be weird. That would still have a lot of explaining to do. Which, honestly, from this trailer, I think we have more questions than answers, which is what a trailer is supposed to do. It's supposed to make you want to go see the next movie, which, I think we wanted to go see it anyway without this hype. But I'm very excited for this movie. I know you are as well. I think we are going to get our minds blown during this movie. It's so hard though to go into it without really, really high expectations. Which some people may think it's going to be this, and then they don't get that exactly, and they're going to not like the movie as much. I really think this will be a nostalgia-heavy movie, which I think it needs to be that anyway, to call back a lot of their adventures, because Robert Downey Jr. is done after this movie. I believe Chris Evans is done after this movie. As of right now,
he was done with Infinity War, but he decided to come back for this one.
Yeah. But he could just be saying that and then still show up.
Right. More. We don't know really with anybody. Nothing's set in stone.
Yeah. Chris Hemsworth, we don't know his. Mark Ruffalo, he got fired.
Yeah.
So.
He got fired.
Yeah. Which it wouldn't surprise me if they actually did fire him for leaking as much as he... Did you hear what he did last year? At Infinity War, the premiere?
At the premiere? Huh?
Yeah, he live streamed on Instagram the first 5 minutes of the movie.
Whoops.
And then the Russo brothers saw it, and one of them went and was like, "Take it off now," delete it quickly. So yeah, it was not one of his brighter moments at all. But hey, we still love him. He's a lot better than Edward Norton. A lot.
Yeah, better. I feel like he fits in the dynamic better.
Yes. I don't think Edward Norton would have fit in as well. I don't think he fit the same style as... Which the MCU has changed since 2008 to now. It's a lot more. It's got a lot more humor in it, and it's got a lot more action and CGI things. So
yeah,
it's gotten better. I don't want to say better, but it's advanced extremely well.
And I think it's become more of its own thing.
Yeah.
I think that people go into MCU movies now knowing more what to expect and knowing to expect a certain level of quality.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which is really impressive.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
But man, I want this movie to come out right now.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I want to see Captain Marvel before it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very excited for Captain Marvel in March. And then they bumped it from May to April, which they did that for Infinity War as well, which is very exciting that we don't have to wait an extra week. We get to watch it a week early.
Yeah.
Which I know we're all happy about and excited about. Yeah, it was a really good trailer, a really good teaser trailer. It gave us enough to make us excited, but not enough to give us anything. I think we know less watching it than we did before watching it.
Right, because people have all their different theories and stuff, and then you build something off of one theory, and then that kind of like snowballs. But such as the theory that this trailer was going to begin with Tony Stark being at Aunt May's front door, and she opens the door, and he's got to tell her what happened, which not like it would show her. It would show him telling her what happened in the trailer, but it would just kind of insinuate. But I like Tony Stark's predicament better than him just being back on Earth.
But that would be really hard for him to
go
back
be
and
rough.
tell Aunt May. And then one thing I did hear that would be really interesting is if they just shot Tony's dialogue and those like shots for this trailer specifically, and it's not even really in the movie. So you start the movie off like you already know his predicament, and so it's just not spending as much time dealing with that and more dealing with whatever the threats are coming. Which I would love if we got more than just Thanos being the threat in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
I would love if they introduced another, not necessarily a big time villain, but somebody who would cause more chaos and havoc in this movie.
And fits into the narrative.
Yeah.
Because this movie, has got to tie together already so many different things that have happened, so many different narrative threads, and then start a bunch of new narrative threads going into, the next phase. This is going to be like their biggest movie so far.
Yeah.
So I hope that if they do end up, it's been hinted at so far that they might be introducing another threat.
Mm-hmm. From the
lead box art and also the Prelude comic.
Yeah.
So I hope that is handled very well, which I have full faith that it will be.
I did see that the Russo brothers are not against directing another Marvel movie after this, which I am fine with. They can direct every Marvel movie for all I care.
Yeah, they do a
very good job. Especially with like these type of tones, because like I don't think they would do as well with like an Ant-Man. More of like a happier. I don't think they would do well with the Guardians, but like these more. I don't want to say darker, but like these more. There was a massive difference between Captain America, the First Avenger, and Winter Soldier.
I think the more narrative-heavy films, they're very good with, and also films that carry more weight. Because Ant-Man, innately feels more weightless.
Yeah.
So does Guardians in a sense.
Civil War carried so much weight because it caused the events of Civil War caused Infinity Wars. Mm-hmm. Them being broken up and not being able to do things together is kind of part of the reason why Thanos was able to be successful. And they do so well with like the little details in all of their movies.
Yeah.
Which makes me appreciate these films even more. I actually Sunday watched Infinity War again just for fun, and I love it every time I watch it.
Yeah.
And I catch new things every time I watch. I've seen it like 12 times. And I catch something different every time I watch it. It's like, that's how you know you got a good movie, when you pick up on other stuff. And then you're like, wait, how would this go into Endgame? Like, this could have, so it's really cool. Do you have any other speculation of, like, surprise characters we'll see or plot lines or anything?
There was an interview with Jim Starlin, who is a legendary comic creator. He created Thanos and Gamora and Drax. and Mistress Death and a bunch of characters in comics, and he said that another one of his characters would show up in Avengers 4 that had not been seen before, and he got in hot water for that, just kind of. But there's a lot of speculation as to who that could be. Thanos' grandfather Kronos was created by Jim Starlin.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Mistress Death is another big possibility, but it's kind of odd to think that there could be another major character like that showing up.
Yeah. Well, what they could do is, because I think we're going to get a lot of shots of like Thanos just farming. Mm-hmm. And like I know we were joking about like that last week or something, but I think that there's going to be a lot of him doing that and just thinking about what he did, and maybe like in his imagination, Mistress Death is there. Mm-hmm. Like not necessarily her being another threat, but like a voice in his head or something. Mm-hmm. I think that would be interesting. I did see or hear that there's a possibility of the kid that was in Iron Man 3 could show up in this movie and be the next, I think he would be Iron Lad. I think that's what they said he would be. Mm-hmm. I think that would be really cool to see. Maybe like Tony doesn't die at the end of this, but like he gets to mentor both Peter and whatever the kid's name was. I don't remember his name.
Harley.
Yeah. Mentor both of them. I think that would be a really cool.
Which, if you know about Iron Lad, then you know that he eventually, down the road, becomes Kang the Conqueror. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of the point of Iron Lad, is that he's destined to become Kang the Conqueror in the future, but he kind of rejects that until a certain point in the Young Avengers comics.
Yeah.
So if they want to create the Young Avengers, which they've already kind of planted the seeds for in a few different movies, in a few different regards, especially with Cassie Lang, if they wanted to turn Harley into Iron Lad, that would be something that a seed that they've planted since 2013, Iron Man 3, which would be totally wild, and I think Kang would totally fit in the MCU as kind of a big threat.
Yeah. Who's a part of the Young Avengers? It's Iron Lad, Amadeus Cho as the Hulk, isn't he?
There's Hulkling, actually.
Hulkling, yeah.
Hulkling, Patriot, Kate Bishop's Hawkeye, and Cassie Lang.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. We could see Kate Bishop in this movie as well, because there was another female actress that was casted for this movie, but they didn't tell what part she was playing.
Catherine Langford.
Yeah, which people said she could be Mistress Death and...
Yeah, no real evidence for Catherine Langford's character yet, but just a lot of speculation.
Yeah, which is all we ever do with this movie is speculation until we see it.
Right.
Which I think most likely the next trailer will come out Super Bowl.
Yeah.
More than likely. And then after that, probably like a month and a half before the movie comes out, if that. So there's a lot that's going to be happening in the next few weeks are going to be really busy for us nerds and doing this podcast. Because next week we're definitely doing the Far From Home trailer, if it comes out, and reviewing Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. And then the week after that is Aquaman, which is, yay. We don't know how we feel about it yet, because there's conflicting reviews about it, so, which makes me interested to see it, to see where we fall with that, as well as Bumblebee comes out that weekend, and then we don't know what we're going to do the week after Christmas. We'll figure something out for that episode. We may do our top 10 Christmas movies of all time that week. I think that would be really cool to do with them. But yeah, do you have any other thoughts on Avengers Endgame or any other speculation or anything?
I do want to throw out, for those who don't know, that Endgame broke the record for the top viewed, which this isn't surprising, but it broke the record for the top viewed trailer in 24 hours.
Yeah.
Which the previous record was set by Infinity War. So Infinity War was viewed 230 million, I want to say, times in 24 hours, which is crazy. Endgame was viewed 289 million times in 24 hours.
I think I was like 100 of that.
Right, yeah. Well, I'm sure we both contributed quite a bit.
Yes. it's the hype for this movie is real high, and I'm ready for it. It needs to come out now. I want it now. But yeah, I think that's going to do it for this week's episode of the Nerd Crew podcast. I think this was episode 16. So we've been doing this for a while. It feels like we just started. Like I said before, check out the New World Nation podcast. Give them some love, subscribe to them, and listen to their reviews. They just released their first one today. They're going in order, so it was Iron Man. Next week they get to do the wonderful, lovely, Incredible Hulk movie, so that'll be fun to listen to them talk about that. They talked about it a little bit, and I don't think they're big fans of it either. So I don't think anybody is really. But I'm look for us to be on there in the future. Continue to listen to them. You can listen to them. I can't get my words together now. You can find us on SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Play, and at YouTube. Make sure you give us a like, a rate, a review, a subscribe, share, comment. Do everything you can with these videos and our audio podcast. And we want to grow our community as much as we can so we can talk all nerdy stuff all the time. We're very excited about we love talking about nerdy stuff. So I look for us there. You can find me on Twitter at I'm Andy York. You can find our podcast on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Nerd Crew Podcast, and we post there all the time, especially during big events, and we reposted the trailer with our thoughts on it at the time as well, so check it out there. Jason is still not on Twitter because Jason Momoa has not tweeted at him yet.
Because I haven't found a cool nickname yet.
A cool nickname. Once we find, this is what I want you to do. On the comments below, give us a cool nickname for Jason.
Right.
And we'll go through them and we'll figure out. And when we pick one, then he'll get a Twitter.
You can call me Hat Hair.
Hat Hair.
Hat Hair.
Hat Hair Lee.
Yeah. It's okay. I already stole that one, so you got to be more creative than that.
So no Superman and no Hat Hair.
Right. So and no statue.
Statue. We can call you the tall guy.
Well, the more we put out there, the more that they can't comment.
So we're doing well with this. But yeah, guys, that's going to do it for this week's episode. We really appreciate you watching and listening and being a part of it. We love you guys. We love being a part of the Nerd Crew, so always pay attention and watch our podcast as well. Listen to our podcast and watch our videos. There we go. I'll get it at some point. But for Jason and for Andy, we appreciate you listening, and we'll catch you next week.